Sorry. Okay, we also want to give a huge shout out to all of our elected officials who support the Illinois State Museum. Woo! All of our wonderful speakers here today. The union folks at Local 1019 for providing your awesome green shirts. And all of you for signing the petition, following us on Facebook, and in general, supporting the Illinois State Museum! How many people do you think we have here today? 100? No! 200? No! How about 300? Woo! Raise your hand if this is your first rally. All right. Raise your hand if you've been to the Play Museum and you love the Play Museum. Raise your hand if you've been to the Illinois State Museum and you love it and you want to keep it open. Forever, by the way. We are members of Save the Illinois State Museum. With you, we want our voices to be heard today. If you've ever been to the Play Museum, you might have seen me. I'm Kara Fedge. I'm the Mary Ann McLean Play Museum educator. And I'm Amy McEwen. I am a scientist, a mom, an educator, and as of this summer, museum advocate. Okay, so we want to start off by letting the legislators know that we're out here by making some noise. We've got an easy first chant. It's just save our museum. Let's hear it. Save our museum! 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 You are awesome! Woo! Now I know there are a lot of other moms out here, and there's a saying that in a lot of households that if mom isn't happy, no one is happy. So we want the legislators of Illinois to know that the moms of Illinois, we are not happy. And on that note, we have our first speaker, another concerned mom, museum advocate, and you may have read her amazing editorial in the Illinois Times. I'd like to introduce to you Erica Holst and her adorable son, Anders.
Thank you guys so much for coming out today. I have to say, we live in scary times when you can close a state museum with the stroke of a pen, but it's also heartwarming to see everyone who turned out here, who keeps history and culture alive. And I just want everyone to know we're on the right side of history, and we should all feel proud about that. My name is Erica Holst, and this is my little boy, Anders. And just like a lot of your little kids, Anders loves the Illinois State Museum. Anders loves the Play Museum, where he goes to ride his Jeep and dig for dinosaur bones. He loves the upstairs, where he loves to go look at the mastodon and the giant sloth. And Anders is the face of the people who will be most affected if our museum closes. This museum is a place for kids. It's a place for kids to go on field trips, to go and learn about our state's history and culture, to go to Super Saturdays, to go to the Play Museum. Anders and his generation are the future of our state. They are the people who are going to find the solutions to the problems that are plaguing us today. They're going to fix our economy. We're going to quit our that give them the knowledge and the wisdom they need to move forward. of wisdom that was carefully won and carefully preserved and meant to be handed down to Anders and to Anders' kids and to Anders' kids' kids. So we come here with a message for our lawmakers, and it's very simple. We want them to save our museum!
Educators, raise your hand. More than 40,000 students and 2,300 teachers visit the Illinois State Museum every year. Our next speaker is elementary school teacher Jeff Garman. Please tell us what the museum means to you and your students.
Thank you all for being here today. It's important that our legislators know what we're saying, because we've elected them to be our voice. And from what I hear, our voice says that we want to keep this museum open. We want to save our museum. I was asked to speak here today to talk about education. I'm a fourth grade teacher. I also had the privilege to spend one summer working at the Illinois State Museum, which was an eye-opening experience. Not only is this museum used during the school year, but during the summer, all kinds of groups come through here. Camps, boys and girls clubs, daycares. They come through here and they keep that learning going. The parents are there with them a lot of times, and they get to experience that together. In the past, our school has always taken a field trip with the families and the students. We pick one of the Super Saturdays. We come to the museum and we go through. And it's nice to see students and parents learning together. This museum gives them an opportunity to see things that they don't see. I know you might find this hard to believe, but some kids can't believe there was ever such thing as a record player or a record. They think it's always been a disc. We don't even have the disc now. It's all MP3s and it's all digital. They can't imagine a time when there wasn't electricity, but they can walk through and put hands on and eyes on the history that made the state of Illinois the great state it is. You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see Governor Rounder take a group of students through there, walk with them, and see them light up as they learn something new. Let him see them as their interest in something new is sparked. Let him hear the questions that they ask on something they're just learning, and let them see how that spurs knowledge. Education has always been a fundamental part of this country. And this is a great place to get education. The irony of standing in front of this man today is not lost on me. He was a man who fought for equality and freedom for all. You can't have freedom without knowledge. And the museum offers equality, because if you're rich or poor, young or old, you can walk in there for free and learn about the state of Illinois and the Illinois history. We need to tell the legislature it's our museum and we want to keep it open. Thank you.
Okay, we have a couple thank yous here. We want to thank Representative Sue Scheer for being here and supporting the museum. We also want to thank Park Board Tina Januzzi for being here and supporting the museum. And also Senator Andy Manar is here. Thank you, Senator. Okay, let's do one more chant before our next speaker. Our museum, our future.
Our museum, our future. Our museum, our future. Our museum, our future. Our museum, our future. Our museum,
you guys are
our
great.
future.
Our next speaker today is Jonathan Raymond. He's a retired Illinois State Museum employee. He served as the curator for the anthropology collection for many years and did a fabulous job. He's here to talk to us about how important museums are for preserving our natural and cultural heritage. Jonathan.
Thank you all for being here. Forgive me if I read a bit, but I want the language to be correct. On May 24th, 1877, the Illinois General Assembly created the Illinois State Museum, quote, to collect and preserve objects of scientific and artistic value, representing past and present fauna and flora, the life and works of man, geological history and natural resources, and manufacturing arts and fine arts, end quote. For 138 years, the Illinois State Museum has remained true to its mission to promote discovery, lifelong learning, and stewardship of the natural and cultural history. With that catch, I can get a job with the Cubs. The natural and cultural heritage of Illinois. The museum promotes stewardship of this heritage to improve quality of life and ensure a sustainable future. When the museum accepts donations from the citizens of Illinois, it enters into a compact to preserve their gifts as parts of Illinois' legacy. It has done so for 138 years. We take seriously what Abraham Lincoln once said, quote, "We must not promise what we ought not, lest we be called to perform what we cannot," end quote. The museum keeps its promise to the people of Illinois when we accept their donations. We promise and perform. Lincoln also said, quote, "Commitment is what transforms a promise into reality," end quote. And the museum has maintained its commitment to our citizenry. As Lincoln further said, quote, "And the promise being made must be kept," end quote. The museum has kept its promise and fully intends to keep its promise in perpetuity. To paraphrase Robert Frost, we have promises to keep and miles to go before we sleep. There is a right side and a wrong side to history. The Taliban and ISIS are bent on the destruction of the cultural heritage of Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, and elsewhere. They are on the wrong side of history. Governor Rauner, in closing the Illinois State Museum, will join the Taliban and ISIS in a similar program of destruction, specifically Illinois' cultural heritage. Governor Rauner, do you want your legacy to be akin to that of the Taliban and ISIS? Do you want to be on the wrong side of history? Or do you stand with Abraham Lincoln that a promise being made must be kept? That promise being the act of the Illinois General Assembly in 1877 to the people of Illinois to create the Illinois State Museum. Keep the museum open! Choose to be on the right side of history. Thank you.
Okay. Keep the promise.
Keep the promise! 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 Keep the promise!
Our next speaker today is Pastor T. Ray McJunkins. He is a community activist, a pastor here at our local Union Baptist Church. and he understands the critical role that museums play in maintaining strong and healthy communities. Pastor McJunkins.
Come on, you can make some noise out here. Let them hear us. Let them hear us out here. Great. We want the governor and the legislature to hear us today. The Illinois State Museum is not just a line item on the budget that we can redline and say that we can do without, but it is important. It is, in fact, an important part of our history as well as the future of this great state of Illinois. The Illinois State Museum has been a major sponsor for New Philadelphia archaeological projects since 2002. New Philadelphia, for those of you who do not know, New Philadelphia is a town in Pike County founded by Free Frank McWhorter, who was a former slave. Not only did he purchase his own freedom, but he purchased at least a dozen of his family members from bondage. It is believed that, yes. It is believed that it is the first town that in America that was platted and recorded by African Americans. The Illinois State Museum has been involved in the archaeological dig. It was involved for 6 summers, and all of the artifacts that was discovered in that dig has been cared for by the Illinois State Museum. Not only that, but the museum continues to work with New Philadelphia Association to preserve and interpret this site. Also, the staff continues to research the archaeology as well as the history of this great town of New Philadelphia. In fact, the Smithsonian Institute of Washington, D.C. has asked to borrow some of the artifacts of the New Philadelphia town. But in fact, brothers and sisters, this cannot be done if the museum is closed. And so that within itself is reason, again, to keep the museum open. And I need you right now, right there, to make some noise. It's important that we understand how great and how big this museum is. This museum has researched today. This museum has researched Jameson Jenkins' home, which was just a few doors from Abe Lincoln's own home. Jameson Jenkins was an Underground Railroad conductor. And it's important that the community know that the documentation and the documents that has been researched has been placed in our museum, and those things need to be where the community can see those artifacts and that information. Jenkins' brother-in-law and sister-in-law, who also lived in that house, were educators. They were free slaves, and the African Americans, they were instrumental in setting or leading other African Americans to freedom. And so this museum has got to stay open, and it cannot close. Even right now as I speak, the 10th Street corridor is being completed. The State Museum, once the 10th Street corridor, the dig has taken place, archaeological dig, all of those artifacts will be placed in the State Museum, and it's once again history for this great state of Illinois. It must stay open. How important it is for us to preserve all of these artifacts and that they be preserved in the Illinois State Museum. Very few people know about right here in Springfield, the 1908 race riots. But if you want to understand your future and know where you're going in the future, you have first got to know what took place in the past. The past is the key to our future, and you can unlock the door of that key at Illinois State Museum. So here, each one of you today, this is what all 300, no, all 400, no, all 450, no, all 500 of you, this is what we need you to do. We need you to go to Facebook. There are flyers that are out that you have. We need you to go to Facebook and like us on Facebook. We need you to go online, sign the petition. We need you to submit a written comment online. And then we need you to call your legislators and tell them we want Illinois State Museum to stay open. Now make some noise out here. God bless you.
Save our museum! 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 Save our museum!
Our next speaker is a friend of mine and a colleague. Her name is Sue Collins. She's brave, she's bold, and she's amazing. She's a current employee, an AFSCME member, and passionate about the Illinois State Museum!
That was a hard act to follow. My name is Susan Collins, and I am an employee of the Illinois State Museum and a member of AFSCME. But more importantly, I was a visitor, and still am at times, to the Illinois State Museum. When we were growing up, we lived in the Quad Cities, and my parents brought us here on vacation like thousands of people do. And one of our stops was over here at 502 South Spring at the Illinois State Museum. And I stood in front of the dioramas, one in particular of bears at the time, and just stood there and announced to my entire family that this is what I was going to do. I was going to work at that museum, not a museum, but the Illinois State Museum. And since we're here to make some noise, I want to hear who out here has had parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, take them to the Illinois State Museum. Let's hear it. And now let's hear from the parents in the school groups, the Boy Scout leaders, the Girl Scout leaders, the Boys and Girls Club, the babysitters, the sisters and brothers who have taken their kids to the Illinois State Museum. And everyone who's gone there comes out with a memory, or learning something new, or asking questions and getting those questions answered. And when you look back, the Illinois State Museum is part of your memory. Sometimes those memories are what we have left of our family when they're not here anymore. And you can go in there and you can envision what it was like when you were standing there looking at the exhibits and walking through with your family or your Girl Scouts. And basically what we want is, if we close the Illinois State Museum, we're going to close a part of history, and the museum itself as an institution is a part of history. We're going to lose an educational resource, a link in the education that we have for our children and our grandchildren and our high school students and our grad students have used the resources to continue their studies. We will lose that educational resource. And we'll lose part of our community. We are brick and mortar, and we are in Springfield, and we are part of the Springfield community. And if they close us down, we will lose that. You will lose that part of the community. And if they close those doors, I'm going to lose a part of me, and I'm going to lose my memories. I'm not going to be able to walk in there with my grandchildren, and my grandchildren will not be able to walk in there with their grandchildren and experience all the fascination and the education that we have to offer. So at this time, we're going to make a little noise. We're going to start out low, and then we're going to get a little louder, and then we're going to get really loud. So I want to hear low, ISM. ISM. little louder. One more notch. And now we're going to roar. Let's hear it. Thank you.
The artisan shop, you know about the beautiful ceramics, the jewelry, the fine arts. Here to speak on behalf of Illinois artists is Ra Joy, Executive Director of Arts Alliance, Illinois.
Human creativity is by far the most powerful force on the planet. It's an honor to be here today, surrounded by individuals who promote and exercise that power. My name is Ra Joy, and I serve as Executive Director of Arts Alliance Illinois. And on behalf of our statewide network of over 25,000 citizen advocates and hundreds of cultural organizations across all disciplines, budget sizes, and geographic areas of the state, I'm honored to join you today for one simple purpose: to keep the state museum system open and accessible to the people of Illinois. Our museums are an internationally renowned civic strength and a driving economic force for our state. All across Illinois, our museums, historical sites, and galleries do so much more than entertain. They create jobs. They attract talent, tourists, and investment to Illinois. They deserve to remain open. Crucial to the cultural life of our state is the work of Illinois artists and craftspeople. The Illinois Artisans Program is a critically important platform that allows Illinois artists to show and sell their work to audiences on a local stage, national stage, and international stage. The Illinois Artisans Program deserves to remain open. In closing, I just want to say a word about our collection, the People's Collection of Illinois. Our state museum system has a collection of over 13 million cultural and artistic artifacts. This collection belongs to us. It belongs to you. It belongs to me. And it deserves to remain open. Even a temporary closure of the State Museum will make Illinois less competitive, less compassionate, and less creative. I'm proud to join you in demanding that our governor and the General Assembly, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat, upstate and downstate, get it in gear and keep the museum open, free, and accessible to the people of Illinois. Thank you.
That's a hard act to follow, so we're going to do another chant. So you guys can help me out. This is a little call and respond, so Kara and I are going to show you how to do it, okay? So I say, what do we want? And then I say, when do we want it? Forever! You got it? Okay. What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? so. We have a real treat for you here today. Senator Andy Manar is here. He's one of our representatives who supports the museum. He's going to talk about the impact that closing the museum would have for our local communities. He has also introduced a bill, which you might see if you've got one of the flyers we've been passing around. There's a bill, SB 317. So we're going to try to change things legally so that we can keep the museums open forever. Senator Andy Manar.
Why are we here? Why are we here? Make some noise if you want that museum open forever in the state of Illinois. My friends, I am here not just as a legislator in the state Senate, but I am here as a parent and I am here as a taxpayer. Let's give a round of applause for those that organized this rally to bring this issue to the forefront. I am of the firm belief that government works well when it's held accountable. Today, we are holding our state government accountable for what's important. Two weeks ago, quick story. 2 weeks ago, I walked out of these doors of the east wing of the Capitol. It was a quiet evening, not like today. That's a good thing. It was a quiet evening. The sun had set. There was a shadow cast by the dome. The only thing you could hear that evening was the calm of the water, the calm of the fountains. And I looked out over the east lawn and there was a family. There was a family that had paused in front of the Stephen Douglas statue for a picture. And they looked around. And their faces were going up in the air. Their faces were going left and right. They were in awe of the place where they found themselves under the wonderful dome, right where we are today. My drive home that night, it's about an hour to Bunker Hill. Done it for 15 years. My drive home that night, that family of 5 occupied my thoughts. You know, one of my first memories as a child, about the same age as one of those children in front of the Douglas statue, was visiting the State Museum. One of my earliest memories as a child was walking into the doors of the State Museum. And like millions of other families in Illinois, my parents, Bill and Paula, and my mother is here today to support the museum. I don't know where she is, but I know she's here. My parents worked hard to give their kids a little more, and they did it without the daily privileges and comfort of wealth. They did it because they loved their children. Frankly, we couldn't afford lavish vacations. So I'm here to tell you, our family vacation was right here. You know, when I was a kid, we didn't hop on the family jet to go to the Caribbean or to Europe. That didn't happen in the Manar household. There was no getting away to one of our 9 other homes that sit idle in some part of the country that most people don't ever get to. My parents didn't get to retreat to the family ranch of 23,000 acres in Montana to escape the daily stresses of life. That didn't happen in the Manar house. You know what we did? We packed in a station wagon. We packed in a station wagon and we came to Springfield to the State Museum. And when we got here, the world was brought to us. In the halls and the walls of the State Museum, the world was brought to the 3 Manar children, right there for them to see, right there for us to experience, just like children here, just like the 3 that were standing in front of the Douglas statue 2 weeks ago. This museum needs to stay open. The museum enriches the lives of young people from all walks of life, from all over the state of Illinois and beyond. And history, as Pastor McJunkins articulated, enriches the lives of all people, and that history is contained in the walls of the State Museum, and it needs to stay open. So I was inspired once. By the State Museum. There's an exhibit, at least there was at the time, depicting the Chicago fire. And I think I was in 5th grade at the time, and we had made a visit here, as we often did, and that exhibit inspired me to go into the history club in junior high. And the first competition was making our own exhibits about history, and I failed miserably on the Chicago fire. But I later majored in history and earned my degree in history from SIU. So to that degree, the museum was successful. Now, Governor Rauner, we should make a point of saying this today. Governor Rauner is correct when he says that preservation of history comes at a cost. He is correct. But where we disagree is that we think it is worth the cost in the state budget. My friends, we should walk away from here today, from this rally, and remember this, that if this museum were to close, and its facilities, by the way, beyond just the one here in Springfield, we will have failed ourselves as a people. We will have failed ourselves as a state. We need to keep this momentum moving. We need to do everything we can beyond just this afternoon to save the State Museum. It's time to move this ball forward. It's time to get a budget that meets the priorities of us and the people of the state. That includes the State Museum. Save our museum! Save our museum!
Save our museum!
Keep up the momentum!
Save our museum! Save our museum! Save our museum! Save our museum! Save our museum!
Thank you so much, Senator Menard.
Save our museum!
As you know, Mayor Langfelder here in Springfield has been very supportive of our effort. I know a lot of you are following us on Facebook, and you have probably shared that amazing video that he and the city put together. So for our final speaker today, we have Bonnie Drew from the mayor's office to talk about their support.
Thank you. Welcome to Downstate Springfield. Boy, Senator Menard's hard to follow. But the Illinois State Museum system closes. It's going to have a dramatic impact not only on tourism revenue, but as a critical educational tool for children, families, educators, and other smaller museums that rely on them daily. As stated in the State Journal Register, throughout much of Springfield's history, the now 138-year-old Illinois State Museum has offered steady reassurance that while people come and go from the capital city, the state's natural and cultural history are worthy of preservation, study, and protection. We aren't simply closing the doors to a facility. The economic impact of broadening the minds of our children is immeasurable. That's why the mayor presented the following resolution to the governor in a meeting 2 weeks ago. And this is a resolution that the city council will be voting on tonight. But just a couple of quick points. The Illinois State Museum system brought in almost $36 million statewide to tourism last year. Almost half of that was here in Springfield alone. We had over 200,000 visitors out of the 387,000 that were here in Springfield at these facilities. Over 22,000 students and 2,000 teachers. We need this facility. We have the city's full support in saving our museum. Please look at our website to see our Save Our Museum video. It's very powerful. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you so much. So we have a real treat for the end. You can see their sign there, the Raging Grannies. We're going to have sing-along songs, but we have a little bit of housekeeping before the treat. Okay. So first of all, those written comment cards that are around, if you haven't already, if you have one filled out, we have people with buckets. Raise the buckets. Okay. And the comment cards can go in there. You have one more day to submit written comments to the commission. So if you haven't already, please do that. You can do it right here. The other thing is our amazing signs. If you want to put them up in your windows or in your yard, we would love it. If you don't have a place to put it up, we will collect them. Hopefully we won't need another rally, but we are willing to have another rally if we need to do it, right? Okay, so if you don't have a place where you can put it up, just leave them back over where you got them. We're also going, as some of you know, we're going to deliver the petition, which has almost 11,000 signatures, to the governor. We're going to have a small group that does that along with our lovely mammoth. So we probably have a couple families, if they want to go and help deliver that to the governor, they can go and be with the mammoth. We ask that you let that group go through the security into the building first, okay, so that they can deliver that petition. We also ask that after you get done singing some fun songs, you do visit your legislators' offices. That's the next step, right? We've got a bill, we got to get the supermajority, we got to do this. Democracy. Power to the people. So please, you're here, please go see the legislator's office, even if it's just talk with the staffer and let them know that you were here today and in supporting the museum. Okay, the other thing is the Illinois State Museum right down the road is open, so if you are here from out of town, please go there with your beautiful shirt on and show them your support. Okay, well, I want to just end by saying thanks. You are amazing. This is beautiful. And you made this happen. You made this happen. The people of Illinois made this happen. Okay, without any further ado, our Raging Grannies! Yeah! Woo!
Hello! Hello! We are the Springfield Raging Grannies, an affiliate of an international group for mature women and others who are active and engaged in political issues that affect future generations. We are a group whose Illinois membership is multiplying at a tremendous rate, and we call on Governor Bruce Browner to immediately reverse the closure of the Illinois State Museum. The museum closure would save less than $4 million in a $4 billion deficit, which is 1/1000th of the state deficit. We care about the lives of our grandchildren, who are the future of our state, and we call on our elected officials to stop playing political games with the lives of our grandchildren, who are the future of this state. As all Raging Grannies do, we're going to be singing some songs. We wrote some lyrics to some familiar songs that we hope you will enjoy. Singing along is highly encouraged. Julie is signing. Thank you, Julie. She's volunteering to sign. And we have passed some words out to some of the refrains to our songs. Raging Grannies? Here, come here, sir.
Oh, my sunshine, my only sunshine, you make us happy when skies are gray. Our children need you for their education. Please don't take our museum away. We love the history, we love the artwork, we love the dioramas too.
But I can sign it on there.
Yeah.
This is great. Human GPS I use when I'm traveling. We're still working. He's got a date tonight, so we've got to go back up to Chicago. We're going to probably maybe get